We didn't turn the lights down here a little bit.
Mr. Smith, could you please turn and introduce yourself to the jury?
Hello, members of the jury. My name is Chris Smith. I'm the owner of Boom Boom's nightclub. Chris Smith is CHRISSMITH.
And what do you do for a living, Mr. Smith?
As I said, I'm living the American dream, owning a very world-class organization, Boom Boom's nightclub.
Do you remember the events that occurred on May 3rd, 2020?
Unforgettable. This is one of the worst nights of my life. We had business as usual, an amazing night at Boom Boom's, very popular, such a crowd there. And then the defendant, Henry Harris, came in, belligerent, drunk as soon as he arrived, refusing to take cover, and his friend, Lane Ketchum, was there. He vouched for him, said that he would take care of his drunk friend, so we let him in. His friend paid the cover. They came in. You know, everybody kind of gets drunk there. We're in the business of making magic, but we're not Disney. Oh. More like Hooters, delightfully tacky yet unrefined. But Condé Nast ranked us as one of the best strip clubs in the South. So I pride myself on creating an amazing atmosphere for all the patrons. So we let him in. It was his birthday. We took some leniency, and things were going fine. Everybody was having fun. He has, you know, one of our popular dancers, Baby Doll. He was just throwing money down her negligee, so of course she's going to stay there and show him attention.
Well, can I ask, were you drinking that night?
No, I didn't have anything to drink that night.
You didn't have anything, okay. Now, do you remember how the fight started between Mr. Burley and the defendant? And before I ask that, can you point to the defendant? Do you see the defendant in the courtroom? And let
The white shirt?
let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant as Henry Harris.
Yes.
Apologies.
Records reflect.
Now, can you tell, what are some of the club policies as you would refer?
No touching the dancers. You don't touch my girls. Number one rule, pretty much the only rule, you don't touch my girls.
So, tell us what Mr. Harris did that night that made him
Touch
get kicked.
my girls. He touched Doll Baby, stuffing money one after another down her negligee. He grabbed her arm when she turned to leave, assaulting her, and then when I told him to stop, pushed me.
And so what was your response to that?
Out of here, get him out. And my security guard, Mr. Burley, Butch Burley, that's his job. Keep the place safe, protect the dancers from abusive drunks, keep order and peace, and he followed my orders to kick him out of the club that night.
Do you carry bats in your establishment? Or
No.
any kind of weapon?
No, we're not sports authority. And Mr. Burley is trained in judo, so he doesn't even need a bat. He could karate chop him right where he needs to go down in an instant. It's not necessary. I've never seen him with a bat. I've been working with him day after day. No one's ever seen him with a bat. So,
What other experiences have you had with Henry Harris at the club?
he's been in before.
Has he started fights before?
He's been kicked out before.
And you remember on May 3rd, do you remember, Mr. Burley, did he have a bat with him that night?
I didn't see that.
Now, when you, in your testimony, you state that the bat was found on the left side of his body. Does that have any correlation to the fight that occurred?
Not that I know of. I mean, he didn't even have the bat next to him. He was left-handed. The bat was on the right side. I don't think the bat belonged to him. I never saw the bat. But besides the point of the bat,
What? I'm sorry.
there's a lot of fighting going on before the bat even, came in. So, Mr. Harris pushed me,
Right.
assaulted our dancer. I said he's gotta go. We're walking out the door, his friend Blaine, then Henry, then me, then Mr. Burley. We're walking out the door, punches him, boom, right in the face. Henry Harris punched my bouncer in the face. Game over. I said he's out of here. He's got to go. So, he got up, ran. I thought the situation was over and I went back inside, I told him I was calling the cops. You know, I can't trust this guy. I can't trust, you know, getting my license revoked because there's fights going on in my club. So I called the cops. I wanted to end it right there.
And so you were not outside when the gunshots happened, but
No.
okay, so you
No.
were. So what happened when Detective Wright arrived? Was
Well,
it-
a little bit before that, I went back inside. I called the cops. I was still on the phone with the cops when I heard the gunshot go off, so it was only like moments later. And then I came outside after I heard the gunshot. Detective Wright arrived pretty quickly, you know, because I was on the phone, you know, because they needed to be kicked out, not because there was a murder. That was the last thing on my mind, that a murder was going to happen. I mean, how extreme and unnecessary. And as soon as Detective Wright got there, I identified Henry Harris as the shooter. He had the gun. There was no denying. It was undisputable that he shot him. The only thing that he was disputing is it was self-defense, which wasn't.
That's all the questions I have for you today.
Cross.
Good evening, Mr. Smith. You said on direct that Butch was left-handed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not he's ambidextrous?
I've only seen him use his left hand.
So redirecting you back to my original question, you're not sure if he's ambidextrous.
I can't certainly say whether he is, but I always see him use his left hand.
So your testimony is that your business is tightly regulated by the police. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yet there was not one police officer outside that night?
No.
And you testified that you have a very world-renowned establishment. You have to be very careful or else you'll lose your license. That's correct?
That's correct.
But there wasn't one camera outside to capture what happened that night?
No.
Isn't it true that your security personnel goes through a training course on how to handle rowdy customers?
Yes, we trained him.
And Butch Barley would have went through that course?
Yes.
So he should have been well equipped on how to handle rowdy customers?
Yep.
Because he has a black belt in judo?
Because he went through training, because he has a black belt in judo, and because he follows directions.
Isn't it true that no other bouncers that night had any concerns about Mr. Harris?
Not that I saw.
And your testimony was that Mr. Harris has a past of being disrespectful,
He's been kicked out before.
but you still let him in that night?
Yes.
Did you know that Mr. Barley was drunk the night that this happened?
Objection. It assumes facts not in evidence when they were at the club.
Know the answer.
I didn't know he was drunk.
Would it surprise you to know that he was drunk?
I wouldn't be surprised.
While he was supposed to be security, he was drinking, you wouldn't be surprised. That's your testimony.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was drinking that night.
And isn't it true that Butch is not a full-time employee, but rather he's an independent contractor?
All my staffs are independent contractors.
And that's for reliability purposes, correct?
Mainly liability, also tax, and just the way I like to pay my staff.
And that was done with the advice of an attorney?
Yep.
So that so that protects you from any responsibility if something happens?
Not totally.
You told Butch to get out or else he would be leaving face first, correct?
I don't remember saying that.
Would it refresh your recollection to see your
Yes.
testimony?
no line numbers on here, but it's okay if I just point to add up to.
So in the statement that I gave
Hold
to,
on a minute. You asked her if she needs a refresh recollection,
okay,
Yeah.
so you need to take control. So,
Okay.
did you get a chance to review that?
yes.
Is your recollection refreshed?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Is your rec-
You need to get a lasso, like a rodeo, you need to get control,
Okay.
okay? So control the cross, so just say to her, you're doing great, just, is your recollection been refreshed?
Okay. Is your recollection?
Because she started answering the question, but the process you went through, you gotta slow it down, so you're gonna make a good point here. You want the jurors to see the slow it down just a little bit more.
Okay.
Is your recollection now been refreshed? Because you can point out that maybe, she's so sharp before, but now she needed her recollection refreshed. So take advantage of this if you have something good, right? Because she's been answering questions very quickly and sharp, and so now you got a shot to maybe make a dent in that a little bit, right? So, take advantage of that. So has your recollection now been refreshed upon reviewing whatever that is?